Everyone, you're welcome to part 15 of our History on World series. We started from the beginning of time, of man's time on the earth. We started from the time of Adam, and we intend to continue until this present day that we are in. And if you're joining us for the first time, you're welcome. This program, this series is for anyone who is an African, or if you believe in God, if you're one of these two categories, you want to really be patient and hear the things we have to say on these matters. And in as much as we'll be learning good things, beautiful, interesting things, the primary purpose of our learning is so that our hearts can constantly stay with God, and so that we can stay in faith. If we are going the wrong track, we can be set back on the right track, and we can increase our respect and honor for God's word and good and beautiful things like that. So that being said, let's have a look at what we have in store today. So we have a few new things we'll learn. We started from the time of Adam, like we like to show you the timeline. Started from Adam. You can download this thing from our page. In the description to this video, you find the link to download this. It's called KM World History Timeline. So you find the link to download it. Okay, so we've gone from the time of Adam, Shem. We just picked some important characters and events along the way. Okay, and we spoke about the kingdom of Israel. And if you have been with us before now, which I think you will, there's a reason why we are using these books. Book of Isaiah, the book of Genesis, book of Exodus. Why are we not using the other books? There's a reason why we're using these books. And scripture basically has history, and it's because it's true. We've proven that earlier. Okay, so we are around the time of 180 to 70 AD. Okay, that's the temple destruction at Jerusalem. So we dealt with the Maccabees the last time, so we want to go into some writings of Josephus. Okay. And there are two main works of his that we will touch: Antiquities of the Jews and the Wars of the Jews. So this is where we're at in history, basically, from the Greek captivity to the Roman captivity, somewhere around that time. Okay, and we'll get to the book of Revelation over time, and we still have a few things to cover for the remaining part of but we are definitely past halfway of the whole thing. I believe that. Okay, so there are a few things we'll learn today. So we'll look at Josephus's book. Most of you have heard of it, but most people have not quite read it. So it's a good opportunity to know what is there. And the reason we are touching it is because it was written around 60, 90 AD, thereabout. Okay, that's when Josephus, the book of Josephus, was written. Josephus's works generally. And this other second book also. So, and the book describes this time period. So it's written around this time. Okay, and it covered basically from creation till 70 AD, but we stay on just about 180 to 70 AD. So we'll be touching those two books, and in the Antiquity of the Jews, we'll see 20 more locations that talk about and historical descriptions that put Canaan land of promise, the Canaan land of promise in the present day Africa and not the Middle East. And in the second Josephus book, the War of the Jews, is also a book by Josephus. You'll see more locations there, and also we'll see signs given to the Jews at about the time of the temple destruction, before it happened. There was a time when there was a star, okay, that resembled a sword that stood in the sky for a whole year. The star stood in the sky for a whole year. And also there was a time when there was chariots in the clouds surrounding the city of Jerusalem. You know, he warned them earlier of that, and the people of Jerusalem in the temple at that time were very, very, very wicked people. Okay, so those are the things we'll be learning today. Let's pray before we start properly. We thank you, Father. We thank you for your light. We thank you for your love and your presence. We ask that by your Spirit you show us beautiful things as we study your word, as we study our history as a human race, as we study our history as children of God. We want to see what has happened in the past. We want to learn from them. We ask that by your Spirit you show us things you want us to see, and help our hearts to be changed, to be strengthened by your Spirit in the name of Jesus. We thank you, Most High. Thank you, Father. In the name of Yeshua we've prayed. Amen. Okay, so let's we have to run real quick today. So let's have a quick look at these parts. See these. There are about 5 parts. We have said this many times, and we are reiterating that the most important part of history and prophecy, because the two are one and same over time, because this predicts history. So we have languages, peoples, characters or individuals, lands and locations, timeline, and events. So we are running just the timeline side of things. We have spoken about these 3 in a great deal, but this timeline is bringing about events, because usually what we mark time with is events most times. Okay. So, but somehow in this part, while we're reading a book that falls within our timeline that we're studying, the chunk we're studying at for now at this time, we'll touch a lot on locations. Okay, we touch a lot on locations, and then some events also, and some events that helps us mark the times, like these that was happening to them. Okay, so let's run. Thank you, Father. Okay, so the Antiquities of the Jews by Flavius Josephus. His name is actually Joseph ben Matityahu. This is the name we call Matthew in English. It's Matityahu, and it means the gift of Yahweh. Okay, and so that's when he was born, 37 AD. So the book was written around 97 AD. It covers creation till 70 AD. Literally Antiquities of the Jews from the very start. Okay, but of course we just pick some very important things. So now have this map in mind while we read about more about locations in this. So this is a 610 to 546 BC map of Anaximander of Miletus. Okay, so this is their view of the world, and this is probably very accurate. Okay, there's another one that is, see, now this is more recent, I mean relatively, and this 200 BC by Eratosthenes. Okay, still the same thing. You have Europe, Libya and Asia. Okay, so this is their view of the whole world, and this is probably probably very accurate, at least for their time. I believe it was. Okay, let's read. So Josephus, just have that map in mind. Europe, Asia, Libya. Okay, same thing. Europe, Asia, Libya. Okay. Josephus, book 1. It's a very, very voluminous book. Okay, we are not even going to open it, but it's about 1,200 pages on PDF, by the way. So, but here it is, book 1, chapter 1, paragraph 3b. Now look at his description of Euphrates. Okay, so he says Euphrates also as well as Tigris. He says Euphrates also, so he speaks about as well as Tigris. Here he was, book 1, chapter 1 is describing creation, the 4 rivers of the Eden. Okay. So he says Tigris goes down, and the Garden of Eden is here, by the way. Okay, so Tigris goes down into the Red Sea. You see, we just want to pick that out. And it talks about Euphrates. It's actually Parat, but the Greek call it Euphrat, Euphrates, but it's Frat or Prat in Hebrew. So it says the Tigris goes into the Red Sea. If you type Tigris on your regular time today, it's going to take you into what's that thing called, to Iraq. Okay, see where it is. So that's where it's going to take you. Tigris, Euphrates, blah blah blah. But that's not where Tigris is. Okay, in reality Tigris is here. Okay, we have dealt with that in the past, but just to show you another So now Josephus is telling us that Tigris runs into the Red Sea. This is the Red Sea, right? This is the Red Sea. So how can this Tigris that is here empty into the Red Sea? No, at all. The only Tigris that can, which is the real Tigris that empties into the Red Sea, because the river Nile flows from south to north, and it's sometimes called Nile on this end, and it's called Tigris at the top. Sometimes you see to them say White Nile here. Okay. See it here, there's a blue Nile, white Nile, so it flows from here to the south. So this is the only river Nile, which is the real Tigris, that can empty into the Red Sea through any distributary it might have. Okay, but the Tigris that is supposedly here cannot empty into the Red Sea. It's probably in Persian Gulf at worst, at best, maybe somehow in the Mediterranean, maybe, but there's no way it's emptying into the Red Sea. That's what Josephus says about Tigris. Okay, let's keep reading. We need to move real quick. So book 11, chapter 5, paragraph 2. So he read, now please let's watch this. This is happening in the time of Ezra. We just want to pick this real quick and we finish for today. Just touch on the books of Josephus. Okay, so Josephus, the Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 5, book 11, chapter 5, paragraph 2. So he read the epistle at Babylon to those Jews that were there, but he kept the epistle itself and sent a copy of it to all those of his own nation in Media. And when these Jews had understood what piety the king had towards God and what kindness he had for Esdras, which is Ezra, they were all greatly pleased. Nay, many of them took their effects with them and came to Babylon. Okay, Babylon is in northern Africa, and were very desirous of going to Jerusalem. We will not talk too much about Babylon, but Babylon is, let's just open KMap. You can download this also. Babylon is somewhere here, okay? But let's keep reading. There's something we want to show you. As very desirous of going down to Jerusalem, but then the entire body of the people of Israel remain in that country. Wherefore, watch this, there are but 2 tribes in Asia and Europe that are subject to the Romans, okay? Now, we can also use their map. We can use any map we want. Let's just show you. The map should be here. There are 2 tribes. Let's even show you the more recent one. There are 2 tribes in Asia and Europe. Okay? There are 2 tribes in Asia and Europe. Right? Let's keep reading. They are subject to the Romans, while the 10 tribes are beyond the Euphrates till now. And where is the Euphrates River? It's not here, because this has been redrawn, this has been renamed. The Euphrates River is here before, before this happened. So, but then the Euphrates River is here. You see, it's just about here. So he says that 2 tribes are in Asia and Europe, and the rest are beyond the Euphrates. It would not be reasonable to especially if you're using this map. In fact, the Euphrates was not even here, but you soon see what the things we're talking about. So it says 2 are in Asia and Europe. These 2 rivers are literally in Asia altogether. So to say the others are beyond Euphrates, to use this as a landmark is not going to work. Let's keep reading. Okay, while the 10 tribes are beyond Euphrates till now, and an immense multitude. Okay, and they are an immense multitude, and not to be estimated by numbers. There are a lot of people. You still see that in the further books. So when they had finished their prayers, okay, they removed from Euphrates, okay, on the 12th day of the first month. Let's say that means 12th of January, although their month is not called January. The first month is not January in the Hebrew calendar. But let's just keep reading. Of the 7th year of the reign of Xerxes, and they came to Jerusalem, Euphrates to Jerusalem, on the 5th month, okay, which is like the 12th, okay, of the 5th month, okay, whatever date of the same year. Good. So that has locked us between a space of 4 months. So that's about 4 months. Now let's try a walking distance, okay, or running distance, whatever you are. Let's even make it as bad as possible. We want to try to compare to see if you can put Euphrates here and go scot-free. Okay, and let's open a conventional map if we can do that. So we want to see if you can put Euphrates there and let things work. Well, let's just where is it? Yeah, so let's try that quickly. So if you walk from Jerusalem to Euphrates, or Euphrates to Jerusalem as the case may be, because that's the journey they made, okay, estimated by online maps, it says it's going to take 10 days and 15 hours. Let's stay with this wrong description first, because Euphrates is not here and Israel is not here. Okay, so now understand, when Google tells you 10 days and 15 hours, it's telling you that you're going to walk that distance continuously non-stop. Okay, and that is not very practical. So but look at what a day's journey in pre-modern literature is about 32 kilometers, about 32 to 40 kilometers. Okay, and when you're walking at a speed which is the normal human speed, about 5 kilometers per hour is normal walking speed for most people. Okay, average human walk speed. So 40 kilometers, which is a day's journey according to studies, basically what the Bible means by a day's journey. Okay, that's about 8 hours for you to walk 40 kilometers. So the only distance you can walk in a day is about 40 kilometers, and that will be about 8 hours in a day. Okay, 40 kilometers is a day's journey at 5 kilometers per hour. That is going to take you 8 hours, because 5 times 8 is 40. So you can only walk 8 hours out of 24 hours, normal average speed. Okay, normal average walk situations. So when Google tells you 10 days and 15 hours, or let's just say 10 days, it means that because you can only walk 1/3 of a day, okay, you have to rest, just like your normal 9 to 5 jobs. Okay, 9 to 5 is about an 8-hour period. So these people are walking for about 8 hours. So that's about 1/3 of the 24-hour period. Okay, so when you're told it by Google you're walking for 10 days, you have to spread that times 3, because it's only 1/3 of a day you can really walk. Okay, so multiplying that 10 by 3, that puts you because you see 10 days stretch to 240 hours. Okay, without any breaks. And this divided by 8 will give you about 30 practical days. So it's the same thing as saying 10 days stretch multiplied by 3, because you can only walk 1/3. So what does that put you? Long story short, it puts you around 30 practical days. So this will take you about 30 days to walk from Euphrates to Jerusalem. But how long did it take them? He said it took them about 4 months, from the 1st month to the 5th month. But let's then use the normal Euphrates, the correct Euphrates. Correct Euphrates spans from somewhere here, the Gambia, goes through Mali, comes through Nigeria to Cameroon, goes a little bit to DRC there, and Central African Republic. But let's just pick somewhere that is like the middle of the Euphrates, which is like Abuja in Nigeria, and Jerusalem, we understand, is here. Okay, we'll still show you a little bit of the lost kingdom of Kalahari. Okay, this is just about, and there's still walls here. Okay, that suggests very strongly where the temple must have been, and scripture says it's going to be desolate. Okay, so so we're going to just run, like, say from Abuja to somewhere in Namibia. So we've picked Windhoek. Windhoek is the capital of Namibia. So let's say you're walking from Abuja to Namibia. It says it's going to take you 47 days and 21 hours. That's like 48 days. Okay, same principle multiplied by 3. What does that put you? That puts you about 4.8 months. That puts you about 144 days. And that's 4.8 months. And 4.8 months is much closer to 4 months that it took them to make that journey. So there is no way really you're walking from here to here and it's going to take you 4 months. It's probably take you around about a month. Okay, 30 practical days. And of course, not 30 days stretch of walking. 30 about a month. But this more practical, more accurate puts you about 4.8 months. Which is more accurate. Let's keep going. So, and yeah, that's here, by the way. You can check it on Google yourself, Abuja to Windhoek, or vice versa. It's going to take you about that long, 4.8 months. Let's keep reading. But he said, we have been through this already before, but he said he has been informed that there were many books of the law of the Jews worthy of inquiring after. This is when Ptolemy, king of Egypt, was doing the Septuagint. That is when he was translating the book of the law to the Greek language. That happened around here. Okay, around 285 BC. So that's what is narrating here. So it's written in characters and in dialect of their own language, which will cause no small pain in getting them translated into the Greek tongue. Okay, because the characters are different. Okay, we have been through that. So we've been through this also. It's just coming along this flow. This is why we highlighted it. So the daughter of the king of the south, they made agreement with the king of the north. This when he gave his daughter, when Antiochus gave his daughter to Ptolemy, his daughter Cleopatra to Ptolemy. And if we must have a quick look at that, let's see. So that's one. Then where's the guy? Okay, so he's as good as this person, this Antiochus III the Great, giving his daughter to this Ptolemy. So and you will see, Cleopatra the first of Syria marrying Ptolemy. So we have discussed that in the past part, so we don't need to bother much about that. Okay, so let's keep going. However, this talks about, yes, what this king made the Jews do. So however, in that citadel there dwells an impious, wicked part of the Jewish multitude, for whom it proved that the citizens suffered many sore calamities. And when the king had built an idol upon the altar of God, God's altar, he slew swine upon it, picked pig flesh to slay upon it, and so suffered. He offered sacrifices neither according to the law of the Jews' religious worship in that country. He also compelled them to forsake the worship they paid to their own God, and to adore those whom he took to be gods, and made them build temples and raise idols in every city and village, and offered swine upon them every day. The devil was literally making these people, forcing these people by that king to do the exact opposite of what Yahweh asked them to do. He also commanded them not to circumcise their sons. I mean, it should be their own flesh and all, but he's just forcing them against God's will. So we asked that question in the last part also. Why does the devil always make the people do exactly the opposite? Why does he force the world to worship exactly on that Sunday when he says it's the Sabbath? It should be the same, but he's made them eat swine flesh, made them not circumcise their sons, and he took a particular animal, exact animal that God says they shouldn't sacrifice. It's the exact same thing. The devil still does the same thing today. Tries to make people do exact opposite what God asked you not to do. You see. So, and this is just an explanation of Josephus saying that Antiochus Epiphanes, okay, which is this person. Where is he? Epiphanes, yes, that this person fulfilled that prophecy of desolation, okay, abomination of desolation. And those are some of the things that he did. So he was calculating the times. We'll still get to the times in the future, but that's basically what he's saying here. You can screenshot that if you want to read it. Just need to move quickly. So, and let us have no wonder that there are so much wealth in our temple. Okay, look at this again about time, about locations. He's telling them that don't wonder that our temple is so beautiful. By the way, they are here in this continent is where they are, but you still see it again like the previous one we did. So why is there so much wealth in the temple? Since all the Jews throughout the habitable earth. I might as well just bust the bubble today. Okay, there are indications that show that there was a cataclysm that caused these three continents you see, Europe, Asia, and Libya, which is Africa, that caused Europe to break, okay, mainly Libya to break into Southern America, and caused Asia to break into North America. Okay, Asia broke and have North America. Australia is relatively small, it could have been from anywhere, but probably from Asia also, and Libya also, Africa, broke into South America. Okay, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We'll get to that in the future. But I said that to say this, that if they say the habitable earth, they are probably not. It's very prideful of us to look at this map and say, they didn't know nothing. They have not discovered America. America is somewhere. This is what they thought. They think the world is this shape. We are smarter now. We know the better shape of the world. No. Most times, we are rather being deceived than being smarter. Okay? But let's keep reading. So, since all the Jews throughout the habitable earth and those that worship God, nay, even those of Asia and Europe, send their contributions to it, and this from very ancient times. So, if they are sending their contributions from Europe and Asia to it, so where is it? This is already part of Asia, you see. Okay, fine. Let's say the temple is still here, which is what the world will try to tell you that, that it is here. Okay. So if those of Europe and Asia are sending their monies to it here, so what happened to the people of Libya, of Africa? Why are they not sending? Do they hate God that much? Or they were not discovered, kind of? No, it's on the map here, you see. Let's keep reading. So this is another Asia, Europe. That's why we open this map for you, so you can have a view of this map and understand the map they're working with, because these continents were this way at that time. Okay, so watch this. And it seemed to me to be necessary here to give an account of all the honors that the Romans and their emperor paid unto our nation, and of the leagues of mutual assistance they have made with it, that all the rest of mankind may know what regard the kings of Asia and Europe have had unto us, and that they may have been abundantly satisfied of our courage and fidelity. For whereas many will not believe what has been written about us by the Persians and the Macedonians, Asians, Europeans, you see, look at it, Persians and Asia, Macedonians, if you can have a look, we should be able to see Macedon is in Europe. So Alexandria is for Egypt, and that's their capital in the times of the Roman times. It's one of the major cities, Greek into the Roman times. So you can as well say Persia is to Asia, what Macedonia is to Europe, and what Alexandria is to Africa in those times as capital cities. And then you have these stubborn people that would not yield, to the rule of the Romans. You still see that in the future ahead as we read. So if he says that Asia and Europe are what the Persians and the Macedonians have written, that's what he's saying. They're here. So what is happening here? They're just completely hunters and gatherers. They don't know nothing. No, it's not true. We need to move fast. So anyway, Persians and Macedonians, because those writers are not everywhere to be met. Those writings, you will not see those writings that the Persians and Macedonians wrote about Africans, the Hebrews. There, you will not see them everywhere. Nor would you see them in public places, but amongst ourselves. Where is ourselves? You see it in Africa. Keep reading. And certain other barbarous nations, that means some other nations that are probably scattered in different places, okay? Call them barbarian nations. Oops, sorry, Britain. That was funny. So while there is no contradiction to be made against the decrees of the Romans, for they are laid up in the public places in the cities, okay, and are extant still in the capital and engraved upon pillars of brass. Nay, beside this, Julius Caesar made a pillar of brass for the Jews where at Alexandria. He said he's amongst us. So like I told you just now, you have the Persians to Asia, Macedonians to Europe. Alexandria is capital city basically for this area. That's what they recognize, the Romans themselves. See, that's what it is, Rome. Okay. So Alexandria, and declare publicly that we are citizens of Alexandria. So they are basically trying to align themselves with the top city of that whole continent. You see. Keep reading. So now, well, we have read this also. There's a guy who's called Judas, and he wanted to do a revolt. Okay, he wanted the people to be free. He wanted to fulfill the vision. We mentioned that in Daniel. He wanted to fulfill the vision. The vision is when Yeshua becomes the king of the whole earth, and he liberates the Israelites. Okay, so he wanted to fulfill that vision before the time. So, but he said their liberty is as if they could procure them happiness, security for what they possessed. So, but then all sorts of misfortunes sprang from these men. See, this Judas person. Okay, and the nation was infected with their doctrine, which it became a proselyte. You see, it became a zealot. Okay. So, and there was very great robberies also, and murders of principal men of their country. This was around 680 thereabout. So that's just to show you where we found that in the book of Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews. So now look at another thing on time and distance. On distance and locations. Look at now. Caius is Gaius is the same. Let's quickly look for him. So he's the emperor of, at that time, where is it? Gaius. They call him Caligula also. So that's him there. Okay, now this is not so clear, but that's it. So these are Roman emperors. So he's Caligula is the third Roman emperor. Okay, this is the time of his reign. We discussed him slightly in the past part, just the recent previous part. So that's Caligula. He's also called Caius or Gaius. Okay, his father's name is Germanicus. We spoke about him in the last part. So this Caius, okay, this is him. Is of Rome. So he taken it very heinously that he should be despised by the Jews alone. Sent Petronius to be president over Syria. Syria is basically here. Syria is here. Syria is here. This is Syria. Okay, the region of Syria. Syria is just to the north of Euphrates and Tigris, just there about there, above the Ur of the Chaldees. Who've dealt with this in the past. You can check that H3, S3, S8, and go look for those references down here. Okay, S3, S8, and all that. Okay, so that's where Syria is. So anyway, so he told Petronius to become the governor of Syria, and because he was emperor of everywhere, really, took over from the Greeks. The Roman Empire took over from the Greeks. So, he asked him to succeed the government of Vitellius, and gave him order to make an invasion of Judea, and with a great body of troops. And if they will not admit his statue, because he's sending a statue to be erected there, to erect in the temple of God, but if they were stubborn, obstinate, to conquer them by war and still do it still. So we should try them to take it. If they don't, then he will force them to put it there. Okay, so let's keep reading. And this Caius is, we've talked about in the last part, is not just wicked, it's also irrational. Very, very irrational. Sometimes wear women's dresses, does things irrationally. So accordingly, Petronius took the government of Syria like he was told to do, and made haste, watch these words, to obey Caesar's epistle. This is Caesar, Caius Caesar. Okay, so he got together a great number of auxiliaries as he possibly could. Okay, and took them with him 2 legions of Roman army, in other words, was coming from Rome. We want to watch some distances, is why we're highlighting those words. And came to Ptolemais. Now, where is Ptolemais? Ptolemais is really here. Okay, Ptolemais should really be here, somewhere here. But let's even use their fake Ptolemais, which makes it worse. Where is the fake Ptolemais? Yeah, you would. Is it here? No, there's no point. Let's look for it. So let's back that up. So even if we use the Ptolemais they had before, which would be somewhere here. Okay, so there is a Ptolemais here. This is, well, if you could understand this map, this is basically Europe. Okay, Africa is down here. So there's a Ptolemy they've put here, 8 Ptolemies. Okay, this is there's a Ptolemies they've put here. Okay, this is where you want to say Israel is today, but we know that it's not there. It's where they want to put Syria. It's not there. So even if you use their fake Ptolemies here, it's called Ake, but we know it's fake Ptolemies. But even if you put that Ptolemies there, which is just where you have Europe here, and you have it in the Middle East there. Okay, keep reading. So he said he made haste. He was in a haste, and he went from Rome to Ptolemais and wintered there. Wow. In other words, he spent winter there, okay, and was intending to set about to war in the spring. Are you kidding? Now, two things. First, you are in a haste. This guy, you are lucky if you get a clear instruction from Caius. He can give them very irrational instructions. He can just, he many times told some of his senators just to go say something stupid to the people. I mean, it was called, a few of them were called that. You can have let's have a church conversation. So a few of them was called that, but this Caius was particularly called a mad emperor. Okay? So if Caius gives you a clear instruction, you are very lucky that he can even tell you to do something and you understand what he said. You want to go ahead and do it quickly and get out of his sight. Okay, and he was fairly young, you see, but he get possessed by the devil, literally, devils. So, this man, Petronius, was in a haste first, and he went to Ptolemais. Ptolemais, if we use that map that is very close to the fake Ptolemais, close to the fake Israel, I mean, it's just a few, coming all the way from Rome, you're just very, very close to where you're going. You see that? Coming from Rome, coming all the way from Rome, you got to Ptolemais. I mean, it's even difficult to put this thing on. So you're just here already and you want to stay in the winter and go here in the spring. Are you serious? Are you serious? Right? Let's keep using that fake narrative and fake locations. So, watch this. And he wintered as intending to set about the war in the spring. There's 3 months between winter and spring. You can look that up. 3 months between winter and spring. Right? He also wrote word to Caius what he has resolved to do. Who commended him? Caius commended him. Oh, well done. Yeah, I mean, look at it. He commended him for his alacrity. Okay, well done. You have come from Italy. You are now in Ptolemais, or even this Ptolemais, or that Ptolemais, and you are going to this Israel, and you've spent that much time to get here. Okay, fair enough. Let's say it's in the winter, and you want to wait 3 months before you finish your journey. And he told him, well done. If that would almost be a sarcastic kind of reply. You see? But let's use the real map so that we get off this. So, but if it went here, I mean, we basically just read just up there that it took them 4 months to go from here, Euphrates, to Jerusalem. That's just about almost halfway. Okay, it took them 4 months, like you see, 4 months. Excuse me. It took them we calculated 4.8 months. So that means that was from Euphrates to about Jerusalem here. So now, if he then left from here and got here in winter, does it not make sense that he wants to go in 3 months from this Ptolemy or that Ptolemy, whatever, but this is the right place really in Egypt, to Jerusalem in 3 months? People that are not soldiers got from here to here in 4 months, but he says, you know what, Emperor, I'm going to go from here to here in 3 months. And it's like, yeah, well done, that's very impressive. That's a lot more realistic. That's a lot more realistic. Okay, rather than an emperor that is very angry at you, is a very just a emotionally unstable person, and you want to tell him you're already here, you're going here, and you spend the winter here, and after the winter you will go here after 3 months, and you go there in the spring. Are you kidding me? No. But if you can go from here to here in 3 months, that's very impressive. On horses and chariots and all that, that's very impressive, because people went from here to here in 4 months who were civilians. So that's by the way. Okay, let's jump to this river. Yes, so let's quickly touch some more locations. Okay, book 18, still Antiquities of the Jews. Book 18, chapter 9, paragraph 1. So there was a city in Babylonia, that's Babylon, called Neander. This is what the book calls it, but we found Neander in Central African Republic. So not only a very populous nation, I think that's talking about very, okay. Not only a very populous, Africa has always been very populous. They've always had a very high population. So not only a very populous one, but one that had a large territory about it, and besides its other advantages, is full of men. He's talking about warfare advantages. it was besides not easily to be assaulted by enemies. Okay, so from the river Euphrates encompassing it around, you see, the river Euphrates encompasses it all around, and from the walls that were built about it, these things make it difficult to invade. Excuse me. So there was also the city of Nisibis, but we found Nzibi in Chad, situated about the same current of river. So look at Nzibi here. Nzibi is somewhere here in Chad, and Niada. You know, these words are translated to 2, 3, 4 languages before it got back to us. But this is Nerda, we found Niada. This is Nzibi. This is Nisibi, it says here, we found Nzibi in Chad. And does it not say that they had rivers around them? You see? You see that? Not only very populous, but the river Euphrates is encompassing it all around. And this other one is on the same current of river. And when we zoom into Nsibi, look at the rivers here. See the rivers there? That's the rivers in Nsibi. And if you think this is a tiny river, this is at least 1, 2, 3, 4 kilometers wide. I mean, this very tiny thing you're seeing here that is just a strip, this is probably up to 10 kilometers wide apart. At least 5, but of course it's zoomed out, you see. And look at Niada. Look at Chad. And of course, the rivers we call different names as it flows along different people with different dialects. Okay, but these are along the river Niger, which is really Euphrates or Parat. You see, it flows along all that region. So what is the probability that you mention 2 random names, okay, that should be in the area of Babylonia and Euphrates, okay, and then we'll look for those names. We can find them there. They're not only there, they're relatively close by. Not only relatively close by, they have rivers surrounding them. You think about that. Let's keep going. Now this is another one. Now let's just read this. Moreover, Hyrcanus promised him that when he had been brought thither, okay, and has received his kingdom, okay, 2 kings were trying to negotiate, trying to be happy with each other. This Hyrcanus rather, is a high priest of the people, okay, by the way. He's a Jew, leader among the Jews. So he would restore that country, those 12 cities which his father Alexander had taken away from the Arabians, okay. So which were these? Now look at these cities. They were close. They must have been borders between Arabia and Israel. This is the northern kingdom of Israel, by the way. Okay, so and parts of these places were also called Arabia. But look at these. Okay, he mentioned 12 cities, right? 12 cities. Now these are the 12 cities: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We just picked 10 out of them because we were using this online map that wouldn't allow you put 12 together like that. But did you know that we put those names on Google Map? Okay, just slight variations. This is, where's Medaba? Medaba, where is it? Nabolo is somewhere here in Ghana. Nabolo, same word. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. So Nabolo is you just took 1 L out. You have Nabolo there in Ghana. Libya will probably still give you this Libya, but let's leave that out. Tharabasa, we have Taraba, okay, and that's about the one we modified the most, okay. Tarabasa, that's Taraba, okay, and we have Agala. Agala is literally there word for word in Katsina State. There's a place called Atone, okay, it says Atani. You're able to find that in Abia State. There is a place called Zoa here, and we look for Soa. We're able to find Soa in Cameroon. Here, Soa. There's one called Orone. We're able to find it, Oron in Akwa Ibom. There's a place called Marisa. That Marisa, we're able to find it here in Mali. Okay. There's a place called Ruda. There's a Ruda Hill. There's a place called Oruba. We're able to find that in southwest Nigeria. By the way, this place is southwest Nigeria is called Yoruba people, by the way, but we didn't even put the Y. We still found somewhere called Oruba in southwest Nigeria. And look at those locations. Look at them. They're all here. You see? In CB, well, that in CB, we've seen that in the north already. I mean, sorry, earlier above. So look at Ruda is there. Let's make this a little bigger. Look at Ruda Hill. And another thing is, we didn't just pick the names and maybe you have a friend in DRC or a friend in Chad who has opened a restaurant and has decided to call his restaurant a Rona restaurant. And then there's another hairdressing salon here that is called Ruda. And there's another gymnasium or a gym or something here that is called Oruba. No, these are landmarks, if you know what I mean, because you can type any name on Google and find a spa that is called Marisa Spa. But these are not just names of some random places. This is Ruda Hill. This is a hill, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so they are names of landmarks, natural landmarks. So excuse me, and I decided to just think about this and calculate the probability. I don't like touching science too much, but I just try to calculate the probability if we use this map or whatever map we have. Okay, and I try to see what is the probability if we have 12 names. Let's just look at that so we can put things in perspective if you're not quite getting what we're talking about. Now, imagine that someone, should be the whole world, okay? Imagine that someone mentions 12 names to you, or let's even say 10 names to you randomly, okay? They mention 10 names to you randomly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And look at, we were able to find those 12 names around this area, just this area. Right? If we found one here, we found one there, we'll be like, okay. And this guy says these regions are close by, they're at a border. They're taken from the Arabians. So if we found them around, somewhere around the whole of Africa, we'll say, well, it's scattered. But then they were found here, just like basically linking to each other. Look at them here. These are the dots here. So I then thought, what is the chance? Let's even say randomly, you're just trying to work things by just chance. What is the chance that you type 10 random names and you could find all of them here? And they literally look like borders. If you look at it, look at the way it's almost forming a line of border here. Okay, so what is the chance that you just type names randomly and you find it? This mathematical calculation right now. So look at the size of this. How many of this do you have in Africa? You have almost 10 of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You could have up to 10 of this size of that in the whole of Africa. So if you find that in just that little place, and there's 10 equal other 9 other equal probability of finding it in Africa, and multiply that by another Africa-sized continent here, let's say another African-sized continent here, and you have probably up to 3-4 African-sized continent here. Okay, that puts your probability to 1 over 10, 1 over maybe 1 over 50 is the chance that you find them so clustered together like this when you just picked random names like that. You see, and you find them all there. There's no point wasting my saliva on that. We have proven these things. This is just to show you more that these names, all of them, basically Libya will just pitch you the whole of this. So we put that out so that it's not like an expo. You see. So that's that for you. Let's move to the next book. I think we're in good time today. Now this will take almost as long as the same time. We'll try not to. So now this is the second book. It's called The Wars of the Jews by Flavius Josephus, written about the same time. It covers 164 to 70 BC, by the way. Not as much as the other one covers. And also have these maps in mind while we read it. So we'll just pick. Now this one is a lot stronger. Okay, but let's read. Well, we don't have highlights, so we'll read everything through. Okay. And we'll just pick things as we go ahead. So now, while those Athenians who, in order to preserve their liberty of Greece, now this is a leader trying to convince the Jews not to go into battle with the Romans. Okay, and I reckon in this time it was Herod. Herod is one of their kings, and I think he was one of them really. He was also a Jew, or at least a Hebrew. So he was convincing them, don't go to battle with these Romans. This is 67 AD, a few years before they went into that battle and they were conquered. He says, don't go into battle with these guys. Now he's trying to, let's have a conversation. He's trying to tell them that, hey, don't go into battle with these people. they have conquered such and such, they have conquered these people, and it was describing regions in the whole world to them. Josephus himself, the writer of this book, also at a point was trying to convince them. He himself was going to be, while Jerusalem was being conquered, he was rescued and he was brought out. Okay, the Romans reached to him and said, you know what, we don't want to kill you, can you just come out and just be with us? We're not intending to kill anybody really, we just don't want this disorder in your area and all of that. And God literally had given the authority and power to the Romans at that time, because his own people have not been doing very good. Okay, they were not doing good at all. You don't want to put the leadership of the world in those kind of hands of people. And it's almost same today. You know, they are very wonderful people that are Hebrews. You know, Africans can be so wonderful, but those you have in the helms of the government of Africa, the most part of it today, if you put them in world leadership, they'll probably do just the same thing that those people are doing right now. Those that are doing right now, some of them are working with the devil and all of that, but they are still doing it with some shame in their face, and they are still paying lip service to some things that they do, you know, that they say that is in their law. They still follow the law and try to twist and wiggle around. But some African leaders you have today is going to do it bold face. Which in a way can be better. At least you know someone is trying to kill you with a sword and not with a poison. But long story short is that the Israelites were not doing so good at that time. So and God has put the leadership of the world in the hands of the Romans. So Herod, who is their leader of the Jewish people, was trying to tell them, don't go into war with these people, please. And he's telling them how the Romans had conquered other regions. We want to bring something out of that. So let's have a look at that. While those Athenians, Athens is here, okay, it's in Greece, in order to preserve the liberty of Greece, did once set fire on their own city in order to preserve their liberty. They went to that extent. Who pursued Xerxes, that proud prince, that's their prince of the Greece at that time, when he sailed upon the land and walked upon the sea and could not be contained by the seas. In other words, he had a great army, but conducted such an army as was too broad for Europe. So his army was too broad for the whole of Europe and made him run away like a fugitive. They sent him off their country in a single ship, and break so great a part of Asia at the lesser Salamis, are yet at this time servants to Romans. As great as they were servants to Romans. You see, and those injunctions which are sent from Italy became laws to the principal governing city of Greece. So whatever Romans told them, they did in Greece. Keep reading. Those Lacedaemonians also who got the great victories at the Thermopylae. Okay, now at Platae, and had Agesilaus for their king, and searched every corner of Asia, are contended to admit the same Romans as lords. Even the Lacedaemonians, they did the same thing. They subjected to the Romans. Those Macedonians also, who still fancy what great men their Philip and Alexander were. These are the heroes. And see the later, which is Alexander, promised them the empire over the world. These Macedonians, they bear so great a change now. Something has changed. Powers have changed hands. See, they pay their obedience to the Romans, whom fortune has now advanced in their stead. Just telling you that things moved from Greeks, from Alexander the Great and all his army. Now things are now in the hands of Romans. Moreover, 10,000 other nations, this should be other, they were who had great reasons than we Africans, we Hebrews, to claim their entire liberty, and yet they do submit. You see, you Jews in the southern part of Africa, sub-Saharan Africans, you are the only people who think it a disgrace. You're too proud. You think it a disgrace to be servant to those whom the whole world had submitted. Everybody, you say the whole world, they have submitted to these Romans. What sort of army do you rely on? What are the arms you depend on? Where is your fleet that you may seize upon the Roman seas? And where are those treasures which may be sufficient for your undertakings? Do you suppose, I pray you, that you are to make war even with the Egyptians? Let's even start with the Egyptians and the Arabians. Showing you those two are in Africa, by the way. Okay. You still see that in the future, like we've seen in the maps already. Okay. Are you able to make war with those? Will you not carefully reflect upon the Roman Empire? Think about this thing well. Will you not estimate your own weakness? Has not your army been often even beaten by your own neighboring nations? While the power of the Romans is still invisible in all parts of the habitable earth. Well, the story is interesting, by the way, but what he's saying is basically, he has spoken about Asia and Europe. The third continent is just Africa, you see. So now he spoke about the Germans also a little bit. Let's run. He said the Germans were a servant to the Romans also. Okay, he spoke about the Germans. Now you tell me, if you can still trace the history of Germans. This is somebody writing at about 60 AD. He's still talking about Germans. How come he would not know about Africans? And he has the word Germans. You won't see this word in the Bible directly like this, but you see it in this writing of Josephus, and you tell me that Africa has no history. That's not true. That's not true. Okay, let's keep reading. So he said the Germans are servants to the Romans. That's what he said here. Now, keep reading. Now watch this. As for the third part of the habitable earth, what is the third part? 1, 2, 3. He's spoken about Europe and Asia. This is the third part of the habitable earth. This is still part of Europe. This can still be part of Asia. So where is the third part of the habitable earth? It's apparent. Whose nations are so many, you see, he said that again. It's not easy to number them. Okay, and they are bounded by the Atlantic Sea and the Pillar of Hercules. Where is the Atlantic Sea? That's the Atlantic Ocean. Where is the Pillar of Hercules? Go and search this on Google. It's there. So which continent, which third part of the habitable earth is bound by the Atlantic Sea, rather here, and the Pillar of Hercules there? This is Hercules Pillar, it's probably something else. So which continent is bound by those two? You see. And they feed the Ethiopians. That's the third part of the habitable earth. He says as far as the Red Sea. You see. That's the Ethiopians. They're an innumerable multitude. There are a lot of people in Ethiopians, is what he's saying. There's plenty of people there. Alright, and they have annual fruit of the earth, and they maintain the multitude of the Romans for 8 months. In other words, they send food to Romans. So Africa has been feeding Europe for a long time, you see. And the 8 months in the year, their food depends on what comes from Ethiopia. You see, and they pay all sorts of tributes. Let's jump. And indeed, what occasion is there for showing you the power of the Romans over remote countries? In other words, there are other remote countries that the Romans still have power over. There's no point even talking about those when they have conquered Europe and Asia, and even Egyptians are subject to them. You are the only ones left here. These Nubians. And that's why they're called Nubia. This means this word will still get to the word. Let's see if we'll get to it. You see. So there's no point talking about the remote countries when it's so easy for you to learn from Egypt in your neighborhood. So this country, Egypt, now you may say, well, Egypt is the neighborhood of here. But you see, let's just keep reading. How would you want to talk about people that even this cursor mouse is covered already, and you are trying to compare them to Europe, to the whole of Asia, and the whole of Egypt and Ethiopia? It's not commensurate to compare at all, you see. But look at this also. If you're still in doubt for any reason, just to further solidify, I'm sure you're not in doubt. You shouldn't be. So this country, Egypt, is extended as far as the Ethiopians. Now, listen to this description of Egypt. It's extended as far as the Ethiopians. In other words, it covers this present-day Sudan, or Ethiopia and Egypt divide Sudan in two, something like that. That's in the south. And Arabia, well, Arabia is usually here, but let's say Arabia is still here, but keep reading. Because if you stop, even if you stop with this description, actually, you have covered the Middle East. If he's saying his border is here and here, on this description of the border, you have covered this part as part of Egypt already. So there is no way this can be part of what he's describing as the nation is comparing with Egypt. You will just say Egypt, you are inside Egypt, is what he's going to say. But he says that is their neighbor. Keep reading. So it borders Ethiopia and Arabia, even stopping in the Middle East. Okay, you've covered already. So the happy, it's called Arabians the happy, and borders upon India. Still talking about Egypt. It borders upon India. That tells you the Arabia is talking about is not here. Okay, let's just keep reading. And has 7,500,000 men. That's how much people are there besides the inhabitants of Alexandria. So where, you tell me, is the place on the whole earth left from all this description? It's just here. Because if you look at it, he has described here, he has described these guys were not there, they were joined together before then. He has described here, he has described this other part, he's described Asia, and he's describing Egypt and Ethiopia. He's described Arabia, whichever Arabia you want to call it. So where is left? Here is the place that is left. That's the place left. You see. Let's keep reading. So this excursion was led, this is another description, by 3 men who were the chief of them all, both for strength and sagacity, and Niger, called the Persite, Silas of Babylon, and besides them John of Essenes. And this Niger is describing a person, and these people are Hebrews, and this Niger is the Hebrew word, the Spanish or Portuguese word for black. That's what Niger means. That's what Nigeria was gotten from. That's what Niger just means, black in Portuguese and Spanish. Look at another one. Now he was describing somewhere. This is another part, book 3, the Wars of the Jews. Now, as to the country of Samaria, it lies between Judah and Galilee. Okay, he's telling you Samaria, which is basically this is the northern kingdom of Israel. Samaria is somewhere here. You see, it borders between Judah and Galilee. You see, Samaria begins at a village that is in the great plain called Guinea. That's it there. So how is this Guinea not the same as this Guinea? And remember, we have seen this almost 10, 15 places already that are just literally just around each other. We've seen all these places. You remember these? Remember that. So he's saying Samaria is in Guinea. The English term for Guinea comes from the Portuguese word Guiné, which emerged from the mid-15th century, referring to lands inhabited by the Guineas, a generic term for black African peoples. That's what Guinea is. You see. And that's Moors are also black people. And it keeps describing it. So look at, in case you missed that, is moist enough for agriculture, is full of autumnal fruit. Autumn is somewhere around September and December, and most times in Europe you don't have much growing and much agriculture then. But he's saying this place, the weather, the land doesn't know autumn. It produces food. You see? So both that which grows wild and that which effect of cultivation. Some of them even grow naturally. Some are cultivated. You see? Look at, they are not naturally watered by many rivers, but derive the chief moisture from rainwater, of which they have no want of rainwater. You see? And those rivers which they have, all their waters are exceeding sweet. In other words, it's not bitter, the waters are good. You see? By reason of also excellent grass they have, their cattle yield more milk than do other places. And they have cattle rearers there, in the Guinea there. You see? And is great excellent sign of excellency and abundance. They, each of them, are very full of people. Africans are high population. Look at this other place called Gennesaret. So you have walnuts there. Okay, he's describing these places, is what he says in the book. He said one may also call this place an ambition of nature. Now this is a writer says, just speaking his mind. You see, you can call this place of Gennesaret still these areas and regions. You see, still these areas and regions. You say one might call that place an ambition of nature, where it forces those plants that are naturally enemies to each other to agree to grow together. What does it mean? Plants that they are not connected in any way. You have fruits all over the place in Africa, all over the place, all over the place. It's just, and it's saying it's as though nature itself is just ambitious to bring that variety forcefully, as you will not even see in other places. You see, it talks about autumnal fruits again, beyond men's expectation. You see, they became ripe altogether through the whole year. Year round, they keep producing food and fruits. For besides the good temperature of the air, and we know that the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold. The land of Japheth is cold. You see that. This land of Japheth is cold. The land of Shem, which is here, which is the land that Canaan took, and it's called Canaan land because of that, but it's the land of Shem, is neither hot or cold, and the land of Ham is hot, is what that scripture says. That's in Jubilees, I believe. So look at, it's watered from the most fertile fountains. The people of the country call it Capernaum, and you have Cape Town here. You see, you have Capernaum here. It's describing the whole region. Capernaum is in, you have a place called Cape Town here. You see, you just search these maps and search Ctrl F, type Cape, you find what you're looking for there, either on the description or somewhere. You see, yes, and yeah, some have. Oh yeah, look at it. Some have though thought it to be a vein of the Nile. What does it mean, vein? Vein means the source of something. And where is the source of the Nile? The source of the Nile is here, because the river flows from south to north, because this place is of a higher elevation. So where is the source of the Nile? It's in southern Africa. You see, and this is what I just came to conclusion concerning locations. Let's just, because we've said so much about it, but this just struck me. In our world today, listen to this, in our world today we have a well-documented history that does not have a people or a land to show for that history. The tribes described in this history are said to be lost. Okay, that's talking about Middle East and scriptural Israel. On the other hand, we have also a conspicuous people that can be hidden on a spacious land, but they are without a history to show for it. You see, their oppressors, the oppressors of these people claim that the history of the people are lost. Sounding familiar. And that's talking about the sub-Saharan Africans. Now, again, this well-documented history is said to be merely religious, and perhaps it's fiction. And if it is real at all, it is describing a very extinct people, you know, but their story should just, but then their story rather will just not go away for thousands of years. That story is just not going off. And also these people that we've described, okay, and their land are said to be cut off from all civilizations. They're just hunters and gatherers, even though they are on the same landmass as the undenied Egyptian civilization. But you know what we came into conclusion when we merged these two? As we study in details of this culture and stories of both parties above, we found out that the history, okay, this history that is without a people and a land to show for it, fits into the characteristics of the people and the land that is without a history, just like hands fit in gloves. So this history that is without a people and a land to show for it, they're extinct, just forget about them. The Bible is just some religious book, don't talk about it. Okay, it's a history, no people and land to show for it. And you see, these Africans are no, they don't have a history. They are just hunters and gatherers in caves. In fact, we put clothes on them, you see. So they are people and a land without a history. But we just thought of comparing this history with this land and people, and they fit together as hands that are fitted in gloves perfectly. Let me show you something. Let me show you something in addition to that. Once you understand that we just said, then you will not be confused about this thing anymore. Not as you were before, if you are at all. Look at this. Now there is something called the useful chart. If you have studied history, he's a very popular chart maker, which we respect and all. Okay. So, but let's look at his works. Okay, on history. So he follows the mainstream. In fact, I knew he's gonna run into problems with the Bible. Okay, no problems as such, but I knew he was gonna run into problems with scriptures, because he would need to decide if he's following scriptures or not. You see. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So this is his own. Okay, first he just basically talks about some past history. I hope, well, let's look at this. He talks about Egyptian kingdoms, and this is his timeline. Okay, before 1200. But basically he's talking about Africa and the Middle East. If you've studied these things, you know this map is. And eventually we reached out to him, you know, to discuss some of these things. We just talked about, but we've not gotten a response anyway, as far as we know. So he's talking about West Africa, South Africa. So he talks about, and we know now that this kingdom of Judah is here. This kingdom of Israel, they are here, you see. and he did this that way. But you will notice that you see the way the whole thing is thin here. Nothing to say about Africans. The only thing you have is just this statue, not culture. So just have a look at the way the thing is narrow. Nothing to say. Meanwhile, this Yeshua is here, you see, and look at how narrow the thing is. Nothing to say. They continued in arid. You might not see this. I'll just read it to you. They continued in arid. Aridification. They pushed settlement forward south. The Bantu tribes continue to migrate south. Meanwhile, what is happening is the Jews are moving closer towards Jerusalem in the south. Nothing to say. But then here you keep seeing there's Judea, and you have all of these things happening in Yasharel. And he's saying he's given a kind of what's it called, a legend to describe characters that he's not very sure that they really exist, and that's the category he's put Judah and Israel. You see the thing is just narrowed off, and the thing has died off there. So this is what we told him in the comment. So but now decided bringing this thing up. Meanwhile, it's the same people. But look at what we told him in comment. It's a fairly long comment. But what we just said basically is that, what did we say here? He was talking about writing, but we just sent him a comment, but we've not didn't quite get a reply about that, you see. So but what we said is, he said when they left Egypt around 1300 BC, they did not cross the Red Sea, but they crossed the Sea of Reeds westward, the Nile westward into sub-Saharan Africa, which is a portion. Let's just read that part. Which is a portion of the land given to Shem when Noah divided the earth amongst his sons, but it was hijacked by Canaan. Hence, it was called Canaan land. This was where Abraham settled southward of Egypt when he left Egypt. Yes, in Genesis 13:1. So, which is the promised land. So this is the key. Now, this is what I want to tell you guys. So the Niger in the real Euphrates, we have said this before. The Niger is the real Euphrates, and the Nile is the real Tigris. But just swap all the unknown history. Now, this is what I want you to get. We just said in our own teaching now. Just swap the unknown history of West Africa for the history of Israel, and the unknown history of South Africa for the history of Judah. Then you're in business. Then we just sent him a link if he's gonna see that. So what are we saying in essence is what we've said here. So if you can get that, then that's just it. That's just it. That's just it. So that's by the way. So now the wars of Jerusalem continued. We're beginning to wrap up. So this was talking about the siege of Jerusalem. So, and when they were attacking Jerusalem, the Romans, the Jews themselves were fighting amongst each other very terribly, killing their own countrymen terribly, very, very terribly. Innocent people dying, being killed. So there were also bitter contests between those that were fond of war and those that were desirous of peace. Some of them didn't want the fight, and some of them wanted to fight. So they were, and this was still a noble part of the fight. There were factions amongst them. In fact, they were fighting the Romans. Let's just read it. God did not grant them a lasting concord in their present circumstance to lay aside their enemies one against another and to unite against the Romans. I mean, it's almost like, despite the discouragement that this person was talking about them in the north, I mean, just above this chart, you see, where we read earlier, to discourage them to fight the Romans, it seems if they have been united, they might have even won the Romans, even on natural grounds. Titus himself sent still assistance to those that were the hardest set, you see. Yet did the wall not yield to his blows. The walls were very strong. Nor could the fall of the part of the tower easily break down any part of the wall wall itself together with it. The wall wasn't coming down easily. Look at this. He was talking now. This is Josephus Matthityahu talking to the Jews, okay, to make agreement for peace with the Romans. So for another example, when Antiochus, he was telling them history, when Antiochus, that's Epiphanes, he laid before the city to fight them, and he made desolations for 3.5 years. Okay, he is believing that Antiochus, like we said, he believed that this is the abomination of desolation by this Antiochus. Okay, so that hath stirred up many army of the Romans against our nation. So he's saying that when God needed to fight for them, he did, and he's just trying to reason with them, but they didn't listen to him. Now he's gotten angry. Oh, insensible creatures, are more stupid than the stones themselves. He said, I am sensible that this danger will extend to his mother and his wife and to his family, and he doesn't mind that they take his own blood as a reward, and he's ready to die in case that will return them to his sound mind after his death. Just like Yeshua died for them and for the whole world, really. And Paul himself said he was willing to die for them. This man also was willing to. They were just obstinate. Well, I'll just quote scriptures when it says the people are stiff-necked people, and that's I hope that is not what Africa still is till now, because Yeshua died for them and for the whole world. You see, and it's still almost same today. Although amongst the Africans, among the Hebrews, there will always be naysayers. Okay, and Josephus himself was willing to die for them if his death was going to cost anything. But he should have known already that Yeshua had died for them at that time. And in fact, they worked about to also bring about his crucifixion with their condemnation. So they were, like the scripture says, they were stiff-necked people. Stiff-necked and stubborn. That's not good. Let's keep reading. So while they did not, they say, thus were the miserable people persuaded by the deceivers, such as belied God himself. While they did not attend nor give credit to the signs that were so evident, okay, that so plainly foretells their future desolations. Now these are the signs that happened. Okay, they did not consider and regard the denunciations that God made to them. And thus there was a star. That's, we told you, we tell you about this. There was a star. It's written in the book 6, chapter 5, paragraph 3 of the Wars of the Jews by Flavius Josephus. That's Yosef Matithyahu. So there was a star resembling a sword which stood over the city, and a comet that continued a whole year. Imagine seeing something like, can we have a picture of that? Imagine seeing something like this on your sky. Right? Something like this on your sky, a star that appears like a sword, something like this, maybe even more fearful than this, and a comet just flying in the sky. For a whole year, this thing was there. For one full year. It continued a whole year. Look at this again. On the 8th day of the month of Santhicus, that's month Nisan in the Hebrew calendar, and at the 9th hour, that is the 9th hour of the night, that's 3 a.m. Okay, it counts from 6 p.m. 9th hour of the night, so great a light shone round about the altar and the holy house. So a light shined about the holy house, that it appeared to be bright as daytime. Can you imagine that? It's 3. Look at this camera, for example. This is broad daylight. Imagine 3 a.m. all of a sudden the light just shined on your city and is around your temple, and everything is like this, all right? And the day outside, not even indoors, outside is as bright as this at 3 a.m. This is one of the dark. It's just basically in the dead night. There is, even when in some countries in Europe, when they have longer days and okay, so they have longer days and you have shorter nights. It is hardly ever bright by 3 a.m. very hardly, and then suddenly like this. There's no point even trying to, but then the point is, it was this bright is what he's saying. Let's keep reading. It shone about the altar and the house. Now watch this. It appears to be bright as daytime, which lasted for half an hour. This light seemed to be a good sign to the unskillful, those who don't understand prophecy, but was so interpreted by the sacred scribes as to portend those events that followed immediately upon it. In other words, it's not a good sign. Moreover, the eastern gate of the inner courts of the temple, watch this, which was of brass, very heavy, vastly heavy, and had been with difficulty shot by 20 men. In other words, if you want to move that door, you need up to 20 men to close the door. Okay? And that door opened of its own accord about the 6th hour of the night. This is 12 midnight. 12 midnight. The door opened by itself. Look at this. And it's as if God did thereby open them the gate of happiness. Look at this. Appeared also to be to the vulgar, to the wicked people. You see, to be a very happy prejudice. God has opened us a door of happiness, a gate of happiness. But the men of learning understood it. You see, Daniel speak that the wicked will not understand these signs. He said it in the book of Daniel. Okay, that the security of the holy house is dissolved of his own accord. And that the gate was opened for the advantage of their enemies. So these publicly declared that the signal foreshowed the desolation that was coming upon them. Besides a few days, okay, on the 1 and 20th day of the month of GR, a certain prodigious and incredible phenomenon appeared. Now, what did he said? I suppose this writer is even saying that he is supposing that the account of it would seem to be like a story, were it not related by those that literally saw it. Look at what happened. For before setting sun, before the setting sun, that's like 5 p.m. Oh my God. Chariots and troops of soldiers in their armors were seen running among the cloud. They are running about in the cloud and surrounding the cities. Are you kidding me? You have the clouds and you see like chariots just running, maybe just whitish creatures. Not that cloud formations that look like this thing people try to force online these days. They just show you something, but you see some men just running in the clouds. He's told you already. He's warned you that you're not going to believe it if it's not that it was seen by their eyes. And you see men like chariots. You see something like that also in the book of Maccabees. And the Maccabees were also saying they hope it's going to be a good sign. For them too, it wasn't a very good one. So you see, and Yeshua told them that look into the skies for your redemption draweth nigh. He said something like that. And you see them running in the clouds and they keep going like that. Round your cities. Would you not go look for the book that says Yeshua told them, when you see armies round about Jerusalem, depart. Wow. Moreover, at the feast, which is called Pentecost, that's when that happened. The priests were going by night. They felt a quaking. This is another sign. We just didn't number them. This is about the 4th or the 5th one. And they heard a great noise after, and after that they heard a sound as of a great multitude. They just heard a great multitude. There was a quaking, you see. And they were going. What time of the day did they tell us? It's at night again. It's at night. They felt a quaking, and they heard a great noise, like a multitude saying, "Let us remove hands. Let us remove hands." A great multitude was saying that after a quaking. But what is still more terrible, apart from even that? Watch this. There was one Jesus or Yeshua of Anos, son of Anos, Ananos, a plebeian and a husbandman. In other words, it was a farmer who 4 years before the war began, and at a time when the city was in great peace, this was years before the war, okay, and in very great prosperity, there was a man whose name was Jesus or Yahusha, okay, not Yeshua Mashiach, but just that was his name. Okay, he came to the feast, whereupon it is our custom for everyone to make tabernacles. That's the Feast of Tabernacles, to the God in temple. He was writing this, he literally wrote these works in Greek, by the way. He's a Hebrew, but wrote it in Greek, and intending for Greeks to read it. That's why he's saying, describing to them things that a Hebrew should know. So he wasn't talking to Hebrews necessarily. Okay, but it's history nevertheless. So there began to be that man began to suddenly cry aloud, all of a sudden. I mean, he's a husband, he's got a business, he should be a man in a sane mind. A voice from the east, a voice from the west, a voice from the four winds, a voice against Jerusalem and the holy house, a voice against the bridegrooms and against the brides, and a voice against the whole people. That was what he was crying as he went about by day and night in all the lanes of the city. He basically lost his mind, is what they would think. There were times he was taken and flogged. This cry this cry of his was the loudest at the festivals. He continued this ditty for 7 years. 4 years before the war, 3 years into the war. 7 years he was crying like that, and 5 months without growing hoarse or being tired therewith, until the very time that he saw his presage in earnest fulfilled in our siege. That's in the siege of Jerusalem. And when it ceased, for as he was going round about the wall, that's during the time of the siege, this is in the middle of the war, he was still shouting. He cried out with the utmost. There were times people flogged him, he did not say anything, he did not respond to them and tell them and say, why are you flogging me? He was just kept saying, woe unto Jerusalem. Some people pitied him and gave him food. He didn't tell them thank you. He kept saying, woe unto Jerusalem for 7 years. He was basically like a madman. You see, woe unto the city again, and to the people of the holy house. Okay, where were we? Yeah. So when he saw that he was going round about the wall, so he cried out, with his utmost force. It was probably louder than the regular. Woe unto the city and to the people of the holy house. And just as he added at the last, woe unto himself also. He said that to himself, that woe to himself. Imagine someone that has been saying the same thing for 7 years, and for once, he just changed it and said woe to himself. Now look at what happened. 7 years, 5 months. There came a stone out of the engines, you see, of the Roman engines that they were battering the walls with, and smote him and killed him immediately. And he was uttering the very same presages. He gave up the ghost and died. What a sign. What a sign. There's a lost city in Kalahari. Okay, and this this is gonna show. Oh yeah, good, great. I hope so. This is this brother here, he's one of those that started showing those things. So you can go to this YouTube channel. I think his name is Gatiu Kamango. Okay, it's one of those I started hearing these things from, amongst others. Okay, so there is a city which we mentioned that to you, that will show you the city Kalahari Desert. So this is in South Africa. So there are some walls there that had very, very close descriptions to what Jerusalem would have been, and the walls of Jerusalem. You find that that's there. So in the next part, we'll be talking about. By the way, let's not be like the Israelites of those days, when there are signs that are showing us some things that the world is about, the judgment of God is about to come, and you see those signs coming. Okay, and you say, oh, it's a good sign, this is that. Let's not be ignorant of the signs. Okay, it's easy to read their story and be like, are you serious? There's something in the cloud like that, and you don't know it's the time of the end of your country. Sometimes if we are not careful, we can be in those shoes too at times. Thank you, Father. So in the next time, we'll be talking about we're talking about the book of Revelation, and we'll talk about the decoding of the times. We'll compare the book of Daniel, the Gospels, the New Testament writings, as we call them, epistles, and the book of Revelation. And we'll compare the times that the scriptures describe, which is what we've been talking about the times. We just had to touch Maccabees and the books of Josephus along the way, so as to clarify things. So we thank God. So we'll be touching on that more in the next part. Let us pray. We thank you, Most High, for this time. We thank you for everything you've shown us. Set our hearts to hear from you, to be sensitive to your word, sensitive to your directions and to your signs. We thank you because of the redemption you have bought for us. We set our hearts to receive your redemption, to receive the cleansing of your blood to receive that redemption. We thank you for the redemption. We are so grateful for it and will not take it for granted. We thank you, our Father. We love you, Most High God. Thank you. Thank you, Father. In the name of Yeshua we've prayed. Amen. Thank you very much for joining us again. I will see you in the next part. That will be part 16 by God's grace. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or valuable in any way, you can express your support by liking and sharing this video. If you're yet to do so, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our future contents. For those looking to support this ministry financially, you can please use any of the channels now showing on your screen, or also check the video description for details to our donation channels. Please feel free to reach out to us through the provided contact methods, to join our team, or for any other inquiry. We love hearing from our community. Thank you for being part of our journey. God bless you and see you in our next video.
Lift your hands, yeah, I'm your